Okay, so for my next build, I'm going to be playing a warrior. I really liked totems when I experimented with them on my mercenary, and I believe that the main defensive stat for the warrior is going to be armor, right? These signs can't stop me. I don't know how to read. Log in, baby. Let's go. Ugh. Exiles, I have absolutely no earthly idea what I'm doing. Here's my Warbringer on a tier 14 map, and the reason why I'm showing you gameplay of a tier 14 map is because that is the highest map that I have available to me right now. And some of you are going to be quick to say, but Rurikhan, the game's been out for so long, you're only in tier 14 maps. This is because when I first started, I played a mercenary. I took a very long time going through the campaign because I really wanted to enjoy myself, take my sweet time with it, learn as much as I could about the game, because I'm very much a newcomer to Path of Exile. And, you know, eventually during my mercenary journey, I tried out Shockwave Totem because I wanted to see if Shockwave Totem could help me a little bit with my mercenary grenades build. And even though it didn't help all that much, when I first used Shockwave Totem, I was like, I really actually kind of like this skill. I want to make a character around this skill. And that's when I eventually decided to go ahead and make a hardcore solo self-found warrior. Oh, there it is. I've been looking for you.
I can't yet. Is that a beetle?
Ah! Who died in the second act on the beetles from the 9th Treasure of Ket, the big red beetle that I thought was just going to be one big loot pinata, and I grossly overestimated my survivability, which seems to be something that I should be aware of because armor absolutely sucks in Path of Exile 2. Quirparian has said it, Zizzarin has said it, but stubborn old me with my smooth brain, I was like, surely it can't be that bad. No, that's not really what it was. It was mostly like, you know, I still want to make a warrior with armor. I want to see it for myself, and it is that bad. Hell, it might even be worse. I kind of feel, the way that I feel in terms of the survivability of my character, I feel like if you just remove the entire stat of armor and I get to keep all of the other stats in my armor, I feel like my survivability is probably going to be about the same. It's probably not the case, but that's just kind of like how I feel. I feel like my character's health pool is very binary. I know that I don't have a lot of hit points because I haven't really been super lucky when it comes to gear, but it is what it is. Now, in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys the build that I am working with, so that one of my objectives is to see if maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm missing like a support gem. Maybe there's like a noob trap that I've fallen into on the passive skill tree. And if not, then maybe some people will get some cool ideas for their own builds. I don't know. I feel like the build is doing fairly okay for most of the things. So let's get started and take a look here onto our skills. And you guys will be quick to point out, Rurikhan, why do you have 2 raised shields? What are you doing with 2 shields? What's the deal? And, you know, that's one of those things that I like to think that, you guys know, I think this shield looks real cool. It is a unique shield. It is, what's this thing called anyway? The Doom Gate. Welcome to Ray class. Anyway, I picked this up and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's got a little skeleton on the back. So I like to think that because I'm playing a warrior, he's a little bit of a smooth brain guy. He doesn't really think too much about things, which is why you're playing an armor-based warrior, right? Because that's obviously a mistake with all the knowledge that we know so far. And so I like to think that the red dude in my back is just the character before he died to hardcore. And this particular warrior is smooth brain, so he just thinks that he's taken his old mentor on an adventure, and so he rides in my back like that. It's a cosmetic option, okay? That's why there's 2 shields on there. Anyway, continuing onward. So first of all, we have Maze Strike, which appears to be the strongest ability of the warrior. It's the strongest melee ability in the warrior. It's the auto attack. Okay, it's not the strongest. You can juice it up with 2-handed maces and all of that stuff, and you can have stronger abilities in this. I recognize that. But if you're using a 1-handed mace like I am, because I don't have enough strength to actually go and pick up 2-handers, and I also haven't picked up a good enough 2-hander that has plus melee skills, because that's going to be my biggest objective, to juice up the damage that the Shockwave Totem is going to do, I think. You know, Maze Strike is actually a pretty good skill that we're using. Usually I only use Maze Strike on bosses, because, you know, I'll put my totems down, and then whenever there's an opening on the boss, I'll beat on it. And the main purpose of Maze Strike is building up Rage, because Rage increases our damage by like 30%, which increases the damage of the totems themselves by quite a lot. So what do I put on Maze Strike? I just put other stuff that makes it deal more damage. So we have Heft on here. We have Heavy Swing. Heavy Swing might actually be a bad thing, but since I don't, you know, you only use this on bosses, it's whatever. You got Close Combat for a little bit more damage, and then we have Rage. Like I said, the most important thing out of the, you could take these three away. All I really want is the Rage. Everything else is just like filler stuff, so it's whatever. Then we have our Ancestral Spirits. Now, the thing about Ancestral Spirits, these come whenever you put down your totem, and Ancestral Spirit pops up, but they're not particularly good. They don't really scale all that well. They don't really deal that much damage. So what am I really doing with them? Crowd control. So we're going to do Maims. We're going to do Bleeds. Bleeds, it's not even, there's a lot of times where these guys don't even bleed enemies. It's just, I don't know what else to put on here. See, this is what I need. What should I put on the Ancestral Spirits? Because it doesn't seem like there's anything good for me to put on here. So I think Maim is good, and I think Bludgeon is good, because at least they CC monsters a little bit, they interrupt them a little bit, they thrash about, whatever. So they're good distractions while the actual Shockwave totems are doing work, right? So we got Lacerate in there, Rupture for more bleeding stuff, whatever. It's just doing debuffs. That's it. That's all they're doing. Then we have Shockwave Totem. He's the real worker of the build. This is where all the damage comes from, pretty much. And what I've done at the suggestion of my chat is I put Jagged Ground in there, even though I can't entirely understand the interaction because I feel like it's not properly explained. There's Slam, then there's Jagged Ground Eruption. So I'm guessing that, because when you go to Jagged Ground doesn't really talk about like how it explodes and then it does stuff, or maybe it does and I'm missing, but like if I go in here and I examine Jagged Ground, it just says it slows the movement speed of enemies in its area by 20%. It says nothing about it exploding or dealing damage or whatever. So I don't know if this is like something that I missed or whatever, but clearly there's Jagged Ground Eruption in here. I wasn't using it at the beginning, then at the advice of my chat, I did start using it. And so we have Jagged Ground, that deals damage. We have Brutality, that deals more damage. And then we have Martial Tempo, which increases the attack speed, which attack speed turns out to be extremely important for totems. Or is it? You guys let me know. Then we have Shield Charge. Now, Shield Charge is mostly a flavor skill. I don't really need to use Shield Charge. I like using Shield Charge. So I put Stomping Ground on there. Does like little shockwave AoEs while you're running around. You're also protected while running around, which is something very important for my build. And I put some additional stun on there so that I can heavy stun enemies, but most of the stunning is even coming from the totems, so it's not really, this is just a flavor skill. It's just for me to have some fun. Then we have Bone Shatter on here. Now for Bone Shatter, I put Execute, so whenever, because a lot of the times when you're about to Bone Shatter enemies, most of the enemies tend to be low on health anyways, but whatever, I could replace this. Then we have Exploit Weakness, because the totems are going to be breaking armor. You guys will see why. We do have the thing that we passively break armor no matter what we do. I'll show it to you guys on the passive tree pretty soon. And then we have Impact Shockwave, and this does work, I think. So whenever stuff explodes, there's a shockwave from Bone Shatter, and if you put Impact Shockwave, there's actually 2 shockwaves, tons of damage. I think it works, okay? Again, could be a noob trap, I don't know. Hammer of the Gods is in here. I don't really use this. I find that the damage that it does, because again, I know that you can probably juice this up by a big 2-hander weapon and all of that stuff and make it deal trillions of damage or whatever. But because we're still simply using a 1-hander, I kind of feel like 1 Hammer of the Gods is the equivalent of like maybe 3 Shockwave Totem attacks or something like that. So not really that big a deal. In terms of auras, we have Herald of Ash, Berserk, and Magma Barrier. Now, Magma Barrier is very important because if you watch the gameplay, you'll notice that most of the time I spend it with my shield up. It's because I also have a talent that increases the attack speed of my attack speed, which also contributes towards the attack speed of the totems, I think. And that only works when I'm not attacking. So the point is, I block Magma Barrier, I hit the enemy's back with Magma Barrier, which actually deals a decent chunk of damage, and at the same time I'm not attacking, so my totems are still dealing, you know, they're still getting the benefits of attack speed. But see, this is where I get confused. I'm actually not sure if this is occurring since I don't know of a proper way to test it. I hope it's working. I mean, the build is working. Anyways, when it comes to Herald of Ash, we got Clarity for mana regen, Herbalism so that our flasks recover way more, and Cannibalism so that whenever something dies, we get a little bit of health back. Berserk, I didn't put anything on there because, again, Berserk, we only really use this during bosses, which is when we go in for the mace strikes with the rage and all of that stuff, increases our damage a little bit. And then Magma Barrier, we have Fire Penetration, Fire Infusion, because all of the damage of Magma Barrier is fire. So Fire Penetration, Fire Infusion, and if we set an enemy on fire, we also put Fire Exposure on it so that it takes more fire damage. So that's cool. Leap Slam is just in here specifically for mobility purposes, like sometimes there'll be a little hill or something, I'll want to jump to the other side, and we'll use Leap Slam to do just that. The stuff that I have in here is Bloodlust, which, you know, I have Bloodlust in places because sometimes the Ancestral Spirits do bleed monsters, and that increases damage. And Holy Descent, which makes Consecrated Ground for 4 seconds whenever you're done jumping. But again, you could take these away, it's whatever. Leap Slam is just there for the purpose of mobility. Now, getting into the passive tree, let's start with our Ascension nodes. We go all the way into Wooden Wall because I feel like my character is so friggin' flimsy that I went ahead and I made 20% of hits goes from the Totem's life. I'm a little bit conflicted as to whether I should respec that into Renly's training. Regardless, that's what I want to do on my next point because apparently Imploding Impact is broken and not working, which is just like, bro, armor doesn't work, Imploding Impacts doesn't work, half of the mace skills just straight up suck. So it's like, I've jokingly stated that I feel that Grinding Gear Games has a hate boner for Warrior, and I did a podcast with DM who kind of just like, he had a lot of choice words for Warrior as well, so that's been interesting. But you know, we got Wooden Wall, we got Answered Call, we got Anvil's Weight to break armor, and the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in Renly's Training, which is also going to give me a decent boost in damage because of the stuff that I put into my tree. So, on the tree, we have 10% melee damage. Initially, I actually didn't put too many points into melee damage because I thought melee damage wouldn't actually affect Shockwave Totem, but for some strange reason, it does. You can see right there, Slam, Shockwave, it increases the damage, and I'm just like, I don't understand why my Totem Slam is affected by melee damage, but fair game, so cool beans. I started putting more nodes into melee damage. We go all the way to Smash, which increases damage against heavy stunned enemies, which we do end up stunning enemies quite a bit. So that's nice. We have 80% additional armor from our body armor, and we have a couple of armor nodes here. This is pretty much the extent of the defenses that I've put, because I've tried putting a bunch of more defenses into my character, and I really don't notice that much difference because, like we've stated, armor isn't working properly. Now, we picked up all of these attack speed nodes because attack speed increases the damage of Slam significantly. It is actually one of the things that I was not paying too much attention to. Actually, for a while, I was over here on Crushing Verdict, which reduces attack speed, and then I got away from that and I started actually putting more attack speed, and the damage just increased substantially. So we are basically picking up all the attack speed nodes that I reasonably can. Initially, I didn't go this way. I actually went this way to get these totem nodes. These felt like they would be important. All of these, this is just like totem stuff, survivability of totems, damage of totems. And here, same thing. I think that this is one of the most important totem nodes, to be honest, because you got life regeneration for yourself when totems are out. You have +1 totem, as well as totem range, whatever you have. Increased attack speed per summoned totem, which is really, really good. And then eventually we also came over here to pick up another totem. And I know that you can have up to 4 totems, but I don't like how often you have to keep spamming totems. I feel like if my gear is better, I'd be okay with that. But my gear is so bad that I'm like, I'm happy with 3 totems because they stay there long enough to deal damage. They're taking care of business, not really super upset, right? But anyways, eventually we went back here because that's 25% increased physical damage. There's some armor break stuff in here as well. And then there's just like more physical damage. Then we have here damage when we have a shield. I always have a shield. Damage per chance of block. I like that. I don't know if that's actually good or not, but right now it's like 26% more damage based on the block chance that I have on my shield. Once I get Renly's, I'm assuming that's going to raise to like 40%, so that'll be really good as well. We eventually came here. This is one of those that I'm kind of like questioning but it just feels like that 16% attack speed is brutal. It seems to be one of the biggest damage increases on Slam. Like if you notice here, it straight up says that the DPS of Slam, if I was able to put this note again, the DPS of Slam would increase by 1,000 DPS. I don't know how reliable these numbers are because, like I said, I'm a noob. I don't know if I can rely on these things or not, but this note feels like it's fairly important, and this is why we play with Magma Barrier, to prevent having me to actually attack things, and that keeps the totems giga fast, and all of these nodes leading up to here is just more melee damage, which also contributes to the damage of the totems. Then we have this one here. The only thing I care about here is 40% increased physical damage. We also have more physical damage coming up here, so I'm just picking up all the damage that I possibly can. Then in here we have this one, which is 60% increased damage against enemies with fully broken armor, then another 20%, another 20%. So it's like 100% more damage if the armor is fully broken, which, let me tell you, 3 totems banging down on enemies with the with this thing, armor is always broken for everything. Even if the monster has like giga armor, doesn't matter, armor's always broken. Then in here we have one of my very few defensive nodes. The main reason why we go here is twofold. You get 3% increased maximum life. This is one of the only nodes that increases maximum life. It might be the only node that increases maximum life, but it doesn't really matter that much because I take this node that takes away 5% maximum life. It's like I already don't have that much. I got like 2,200 maximum life, and I'm taking 5% of it away because, like, who needs life, right? We don't have energy shield. We don't have evasion. We don't have life. We got nothing. But the main reason was I wanted to also get stun threshold, because one of the things that I've noticed is like, okay, so I can't rely on armor to survive. I need to rely on blocking to survive, active blocking to be able to actually survive in this game. And doing that, I noticed that they were busting through my block really, really fast. So I wanted to get a little bit more stun threshold. So that is what these guys are doing. I put in resolute technique because I don't know enough about the game to really go after critical damage nodes and accuracy nodes. Initially, my plan was to actually go over here. Yeah, I was going to go over here, pick up this. But then I realized that this is percentage accuracy increase. So you need to have accuracy on your gear in order for this to work. And at the time, I didn't have that much. And I was like, oh, so I'm going to put all these percentages that I'm going to be increasing. Like, oh man, you get like, how much is this? 8, 8, 8. Let's say that these are 10. Each of these are 10, which they're not. But let's say that this would add up to like, oh, it's 70% more increase rating. More accuracy rating out of the like 10 points of accuracy rating that I have on some random roll. It's not gonna do nothing. So, and I also noticed that I was getting strapped for points, so I was like, okay, whatever, we'll just pick up resolute technique, that way we don't miss. We also don't crit, but we don't have to worry about getting crit nodes anyway, so whatever. We have this in here. We have a couple of gems. They're not fantastic. At least I don't think they're fantastic. I could be wrong. I don't know. But you know, they're okay. And you guys are like, you're looking at this, and I have a couple of rubies in here. This is almost all of the rubies that I've got in this character's entire lifespan. Okay, like, listen, you guys need to understand something. Okay, for some strange, messed up reason. All right, where do I have these things? Okay, here we go. Like, what is this? Like, look at this. I'm playing a warrior. I want the red ones. The red ones. And the game's like, oh, you want some more blues? You want some blues, bro? You want some greens? No red, though. No, we can't do that. It's like, bro, my goddamn RNG. I swear to God, dude. Anyway, we eventually went through here, and this might seem like a confusing thing. You guys are like, why the hell is he going over there to those specific defense nodes? And the reasoning is, number one, you get a little bit more armor from your shield as well, which is not super important. I don't even know if this contributes to the damage of my charge. I hope it does. It probably doesn't, because charge's damage is based on how much armor there is on your shield and all of that, and this would increase that armor by a percentage, but that's not really why we're doing it. We're doing it because of this specific thing. 25% increased chance to block if you've blocked with active block recently. So what is this doing for me? I think. I'm always with my shield up. As you will have noticed from the gameplay that I showed in this video, I always have my shield up. So like, plant down totems, put your shield up. Plant down totems, put your shield up. And the idea that I have is that a lot of the times that I've died is because, oh, I need to put my shield down to throw down a totem. And then that's when you get hit by like 1,000,000 projectiles and die. And so my thought process is, if I block and then I stop blocking, put down a totem. During the moment that I stop blocking, I'll have 25% more chances to block, so there will be less chances for the monsters to catch me off guard when I'm not blocking and just zip me down to nothing. So that's the theory crafting behind my whole character, my whole build. This was completely made up. I didn't follow anybody's build template. If it happens to be similar to anyone's build, it's complete coincidence because, like I said, I wanted to experience a journey of discovery with this, and this is where we're at. And finally, we're going to take a quick look at the gear. Gear is not fantastic. I really like this helmet. Like, we crafted this helmet on stream, and I was like, oh, this is a good helmet. It's not perfect, but it's pretty friggin' good. So we're running around 100%. I think it's a little bit over 100% Magic Find because Magic Find is giga important. I hate that stat, but I can assure you this particular character has easily found, I don't know, 10 times more, probably 30 times more exalted orbs than my mercenary ever did, which wasn't running Magic Find. So it's like the choice between using Magic Find or not using it, it's not even really a choice. I know there's been calculations about like, oh, you should just increase your clear speed on breaches, and it's like, okay, I'm not running breaches 24/7, okay? My build ain't even that good for breaches. So the clear speed and the rest of the content doesn't do nearly as much as 100% Magic Find. That's been my experience. Feel free to disagree, but I'm not here to talk about Magic Find. So we have a good helmet. We have a pretty good shield. Most important thing about the shield that I've noticed really started helping me survive was the first time I picked up a shield that had 5% additional physical damage reduction. That was massive. I don't know if that's placebo or whatever, but like, I don't know. This physical damage reduction feels like it's the best thing that I could possibly ever get to actually be able to survive things, even though it's probably not even that good. Again, might be placebo, but feels super solid. So that's why we're using this shield. Doesn't even have health on it, which kind of sucks. We also have these feet. Don't even have that much health on it, but they sure go fast. 30% increased movement speed, hells yeah. And a couple of resistances on there as well. Pretty good. We have this belt mostly because it's the first goddamn belt that I found that has another charm slot so that I can put some chaos resist on there. Thank God. We have these gloves. These gloves are also pretty good, but the problem is they're kind of like they've run their course. They're kind of getting old. We need something with a little bit more life, maybe some more resistances, potentially chaos resistance. We need chaos resistance. We need chaos resistance real bad. Okay, but yeah, this is in terms of gear. All you really want for this build is you want health, you want your resistances, and obviously you want 30% run speed on your shoes, and hopefully a little bit of spirit on your chest. Everything else is like also try to keep up with Magic Find and all of that good stuff. Then the most important thing is in your weapon, you need plus level to all melee skills, which the best one that I have right now, +4 to all melee skills, which increases the damage of the Shockwave Totem, which is the main source of damage of the whole build. The damage of the actual weapon itself is not even, I mean, it is important, but it's not the most important thing because, like I said, the most of the damage is coming from the totems anyways. That's the way that this whole thing is built. Having the damage there is good so that your bone shatter hits a little bit harder and that type of stuff. Actually, I don't even think your charge gets affected at all, but like the bone shatter hits a little bit harder. The mace strike hits a little bit harder. So it's very much appreciated. But make no mistake, the only thing I actually care about this weapon is +4 level to all melee skills. And I've been hunting for another weapon that has plus all melee skills, and I can't get one. I can tell you what, I've disenchanted so many staves that go like, oh, +4 to all fire skills, +4 to all spells, +4 to all this, +4 to all projectile crossbows. But goddamn if I can find anything that's got +4 melee skills. This was crafted, by the way. This feels like something that in the Monster Hunter community we call the desire sensor, which is to say that whatever it is that you need, you're never going to get it, okay? And yeah, that's the build, and now I want you guys to go ahead and roast me, okay? Tell me how bad the build is. Tell me all of the noob mistakes that I've made. I'm looking to learn here. I'm looking to learn so that hopefully I'll be able to teach more people in my live streams and all of that stuff. So lay it on me. And yeah, this is my totem build. I'm kind of like complete noob sauce when it comes to Path of Exile 2. And yeah, I understand that my life situation is a problem. Yeah, thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Hopefully there's at least some humor value to it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.